Hello, Upper Sumas. It's Mr. C here with your final directed drawing for the before the summer, and it's a good idea. Mrs. Hopkins suggested that we close with our last picture from Charlotte's Web. So we're going to do Wilbur and Charlotte's babies. So we're going to do lots of detail. So I want you to start with half a piece of paper. So just a regular sized piece of paper and fold it in half. And before you get started, I want you to get 5 colors ready and a Sharpie, or pencil and then a Sharpie. You're going to need pink, a dark green, brown, a light green, a sky blue, and a black. And make sure they're really sharp before you get started. So get those ready, because we're going to do things a little different this time. So starting with the Sharpie, you're going to go up a little more than halfway on your page and then over just a little bit. You're going to start right about there. I'll put a little dot there. Okay. We're going to do a curve out. Sharpies always take a second to get going, don't they? Well, let's use an old pad here. There we go. So you're going to curve out, curve in, curve out, and stop right about there. So you get a wavy line, just a little bit to the right of the center of your page. Starting from the bottom of that line, make a nice big curve. Like that. Then go back up to the top and you curve out, around, and in, a little more than halfway down that line. And then add another line on the back of it. That's going to be his ear, and this is his shoulder. Now the top of his head is going to start right about where those two lines meet. You start here, and you're going to curve up and around and stop, and then come back underneath. You're going to follow this line around like that. You could do that one curve this way and then add this line later. That's what you should have done, and I goofed a little bit, so I'm going to fix that. So you could start here, do your curve down, and then add that little line. Now the back of his neck is another little curve like this, and then add another curve all the way off the page, like that. Now let's add his other ear. So where this line is, if you haven't drawn it already, about halfway through his head, you're going to curve up to a point, then curve out, in, out, in, about that far away from this other line. And then add that line if you haven't got it yet. And there's his ear. Now you won't know what this part is yet, but we're going to take a line straight out from a little bit, step down from the bottom of his ear and go out, straight out like that. And then down here, straight out and straight out. That's going to be part of a fence. Now this is a fun line. You start about halfway from the front of his ear, And you're going to do a curve around. My Sharpie will agree with me. See, when I talk too much, my Sharpie dries out. So, start again. We're going to curve down, around, do a loop, a big loop, and then follow that line down again, underneath and stop. And then add a little curve above, a curve the other way about halfway through, and a little curve here. And just like that, you've got his eye. It'll look a lot better when you get it colored. Now let's add his nose. So right above where his eye kind of starts and stops, you start there, you're going to go out, curve, straight back, right about there, and then add a bracket. And remember, you can always pause the video if I get too far ahead of you. Then let's finish his mouth here. So you're going to step down from this line, go out, around, and curve all the way down to the top of his shoulder there. Now let's add some wrinkles on his nose. So starting on the top line, just do a little curve, and another curve, and here you're going to do kind of like an upside down V. So it's a curve this way, and then a curve that follows under his eye. And you could put a curve underneath. And then we'll finish his mouth. Now you could color that black, or you could color it later on really, really dark red, because that's his tongue, right? And there's Wilbur looking up. What's he looking at? You remember? Charlotte's babies are flying away in the breeze, and Wilbur's saying, no, don't go. So we're going to draw a post where the babies are. So start right about up here, so a little bit down from the ear and over, and you're going to go a little bit away from the nose. So right about in there. There we go. Then you're going to go straight down. Straight as you can get it. Level with the side of your page. Then straight across. And straight down again. Try and keep it parallel to this line. Now up here, you do a little bit of a slant down. So start at the corner and go down a little bit like that. This is where your 3D shapes come in. And then you're going to take it from this corner and follow this line, another long straight line, all the way down off the page. Now we're going to add the other part of the fence. So coming over here, right about there, you're going to go all the way over, and it's going up a little bit. A little bit of a slant. It doesn't go straight across the page, it goes up a little bit. Follow that line down here. It's going to start here and go up. Try and keep it parallel to that line, and then you're going to add not as far, about this far down or over here, and you're going to draw parallel to that line, like that. Now you have to imagine that this piece of wood, it's part of the fence, is going behind the post. So Start moving with your pencil. Don't touch here. Pretend you're going behind the post, and then you're going to start there and add that line. And the same with here. Follow that line through. Pretend it's behind the post. Start here and add that line. And then the bottom line. So now we have the fence going behind Wilbur. Now, oh, we forgot one little thing. The top of his shoulder. So just a little curve here. There we go. That's Wilbur in the fence. Let's going to add one little detail up here, which we're going to color in later. We're going to add a little bit of a tree. Now you can draw any shape you like. This is just the edge of a tree. So I did a curve that way, and it's kind of a curve to follow that and branched out. And then I'm going to add a V to make it 2 branches. And I think I might add another branch that comes up. Might go behind that one, follow that up, and then I'm going to branch out a bit. And I'm not going to finish it because I'm going to add leaves later. And then we could do another V there and branch out again. And another V there. So that's going to be just the part of a tree that you might see. The rest of the tree is off the page. Now we're going to do something a little different way this time. You need to color the post and the fence and the sky first. And then we're going to add Charlotte's babies on top. So get your brown out. And I've got a nice sharp brown, and I'm going to turn my pencil sideways so that I can color a big space kind of quick, like that. Get a good wash in there. Try and stay inside the lines, and there as well. So you could do that whole thing really. You could go over that middle line because it's all one post. And then turning my pencil sideways. Oh, see that? That means I got something underneath my page. Something is causing a bump. And that's okay. It's going to look like part of the wood. Now you got to watch that. If you get something underneath your page, it's going to create a darker spot when you go over it. Now you should be starting to see this is all fence here, remember? So that's brown too, and this is brown. So I'm using my brown, doing all the brown stuff first. Remember the tip I shared? You don't have to keep switching pencils. Do all your one color first. Now, remember what we did with shadows? We're going to have the sun, or the light, coming from this direction. So you're going to have shadow here. The shadow of this piece of wood is going to be there. So you can add a little bit darker. Not too dark. And you want to start your shadow on the very edge of that line and come across. It's going to be a pretty sharp shadow because it's a sharp, straight piece of the fence there, right? And try to make these lines parallel to each other. And there's the shadow of that fence. Now, of course, this side is going to be even darker because it's right on the back. So let's darken that up. Now remember, your teacher often says, I would like some more detail in the picture. Are you inside? Are you outside? So this picture is going to help you learn how to add lots of detail to your photo or to your picture. And under here it's going to be really dark because that's like the bottom of the fence. So I'm going to press harder there. And here. And here. Still using brown. This is going to be, well, the sun's coming in here, so there's going to be some light on here, so it won't be very dark. This side's going to be darker than this because the sun's over here, right? It's going to be like this. So we need to add a bit more to this one. And now you can see the fence actually starting to take shape just because of shadows and our shading. Remember, it's colored shadow, so really it's shading. Isn't that cool? Okay, you could make this side a little bit darker, but you don't want it too dark because we're going to add Charlotte's babies all along here. But see, it's important to put the color in first because the babies are so small, you won't be able to color around them. So we put all the color in first and put the babies on top. It makes it a lot easier. If you wanted to, you could add a bit of grain to your wood just by adding a little dark marks and kind of like oval circles. Is a circle an oval? Oval shapes. And show a little bit of grain, some knots on the wood, like this. Just to give more of the impression that this is wood. You could do that. Now we also need to quickly color in the sky because some of the babies are floating away in the wind, right? In the breeze. They're going to a new home somewhere. So you're going to add your sky first. Remember, try not to color inside Wilbur because he's going to be pink. Wilbur you could color later. We're trying to get the sky in there first because we're coloring over top. Oops, I can cover that up with pink, but be careful. I got over there. It's very easy to make a mistake, eh? That's okay. We can cover it up. Something about art. After you can cover up things, change them, add them, erase them. That's okay. And because we're down, our perspective, where we're standing in the picture, is down below Wilbur, and he's looking up and we're looking up. This is all still sky. So you might as well do it with your pencil. Now, technically, if you're actually doing a painting and you're using paint, oil paint, or acrylic, or things like that, you do all the sky first, and then let it dry and paint over top of it. Paint the fence on top. That's for another day. Oh, I forgot. In between I got some tape there holding the picture now. In between the branches here. we're going to add leaves and stuff on that later. Speaking of trees, if you go back to your brown or your Sharpie or your pencil, you can add, pretend there's some trees way far away, and add with your Sharpie just thin lines, some trees off in the distance. And we're going to add leaves to these later. So just some thin lines coming right from the bottom of your page. We're going to add leaves on top of that later. This is another tip. The way to do trees: start with the trunk, start with the branches. We're going to add some more here. It looks kind of funny now, but you'll see later, if you add these now, it's going to look pretty cool. Don't go into Wilbur though. Remember, these are behind Wilbur. So, and they don't have to be the same as me. They can be any direction. Like that. There we go. Now, here comes the fun part. We're going to add Charlotte's babies. There's going to be so many. You don't have to draw every little spider. What you're going to do is draw some circles, some dots, and I'm using my Sharpie. And this is where you should probably use your Sharpie too. Just put a bunch of dots like this. Spread them out a little bit, some on top of each other, some all together. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine. Just put a bunch of black dots, tiny black dots, all over. And we're going to make some come down here like they're in a web, and some along the top. And this is where you're going to need your really sharp black pencil crayon. You could do it with a Sharpie. I'll show you in a minute what I mean. Just do the dots for now. These are going to be your spiders. And they go all the way down the post, because the spiders, the babies, are crawling up the post into the wind, right? Because they want to find a new home. All the way down to the bottom. You can add a bit more. If it looks a bit thin, just go back, add a bit more. Now, some of them are actually flying away in the breeze, right? Okay. Let's add, can't really see it on the video too well, so let's add a couple more there. I'll darken those up so you can see them on the video. I could zoom in a little bit. There we go. That's why it was important to add the brown first, so you could do it without trying to color around them later. It's interesting how it's disappearing in the video. I can see it on my picture, but I'm looking at the video and it's kind of disappearing. But it'll be okay on your picture. Now this is where you need your really sharp black pencil crayon. You don't have to do them all. You can if you want to, but you're going to do some where you're going to put the legs on. So it gives the idea that these are spiders, especially the ones up here, because they're in a light background. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 legs for a spider. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See? Even science is a part of art. Spiders have 8 legs. Insects have 6 legs, you're right. I may not see it very well in the video. I don't know if I can zoom in a bit more. Yeah, you can see some there. This one. Yeah. Now this is weird because in the video it looks like they've disappeared, but on my picture they're black. They'll probably be black for you too. So let's zoom back out. Okay, and I will post this on the board at schools so you can see it when we're all done. I might get a good picture of it on the internet too. Okay, now these are very important. What's happening up here is there's little webs that they're using like parachutes to carry them away. I'm saying goodbye, Wilbur. Thank you, Wilbur, for saving us. And poor Wilbur, he said, don't go. Stay. And I'm just doing squiggly lines up. Starting at the spider, doing a few squiggly lines up. And there is Charlotte's babies flying away to new homes. Now, I'll go back to brown a little bit here. I forgot about the tree, so we're going to color in the tree. Remember, the sun's coming in this direction, so the shadow is going to be underneath. And blend it in a little bit. Like that. There we go. And if you wanted to, you could use your brown and just go over some of these lines, because the Sharpie and the brown will add a bit of depth to your trees. It also helps to see them on the video. There we go. Now right now it looks like winter because there's no leaves. So this is where you got to use your leaves, your greens. A couple of different colors. Dark green and a light green gives some depth to your trees. Now you don't have to go in and draw the leaves. That would take a very long time. Turn your pencil sideways and just do some shapes. It's kind of just little back and forth, turning sideways, go over your branches. And that way it looks like the branches are disappearing into all these leaves. Like that. So just a little back and forth, short little back and forth with the side of your pencil. And now I'm going to switch, add some lighter green, give it a bit of depth. And you can do the same thing with all these trees. I probably won't video all of that, but I'll show you the finished product. But they're going to be smaller little back and forth movements because it's further away, right? So the leaves are going to be smaller, like that. And switch pencils, add the light green. I think I'm shaking the camera here. Sorry about that. Like that. So I'll go through and finish those later. Wilbur, once again, you're going to use your wash. All right. So you use just a nice wash all over Wilbur, and then keeping in mind where your shadow is, the light's coming from here, so the back of his ear is going to be darker. So I'm going to press a little harder. To get the back of his ear, even these little folds would be darker eventually. You know, there's going to be a wash here. Right? Now his eye in the picture is a nice dark blue, just for fun. This part is the blue part. And then this part would stay white. And then this is your eyelid. Okay. Now this is where you could either color it black, or you could get like a darker red, color it darker. I kind of like to do both because it's still his tongue, but it's inside, so it's going to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to put some black over top of it because there's a lot of shadow inside his mouth, right? Like that. There you go. So you go ahead and do some more coloring. Get your wash going there. Get your shadows. A lot of these creases are going to be shadows. You could even use